Hello, everyone. Hello. I think we are starting over. Yes, we are. We are back with Curtis. We'll begin in 2 seconds. Hello, we are back. I don't know what happened to the last one, but we starting over with Curtis. We wanted to start over so anybody who missed it, so you begin to see me and Curtis have been knowing each other for so long since we've been teenagers. So we were talking about kind of how our
Yes.
humble beginnings began, right? We were raised in the church together. But Curtis has been knowing me since I was a teenager. He was a teenager. My mother was his guidance counselor. So can you talk a little bit
hmm
about that, Curtis? How was that?
It was an experience going to IS 271 on Herkimer Street. I would say it was one of the better years of my life, to be honest. I had school, but I had family there at the same time. Aunt Peggy, what I call Aunt Peggy. Aunt Peggy
Yes.
she would call us in the room and she would pray for the students and and she would tell us what we should and shouldn't do and lecture us, but
Yes.
not be parental. She dynamic, I promise you. And I was in this little, I don't call it a group home. I don't know what to call it, but I was in a group of these really bad kids that she took on her wing.
Yes.
A lot of them was just bad grades or bad behavior or both. And she would take them under her wing, and she would tell us, "There's no way in the world I will let you fail." And that's what
Oh,
happened.
I
She,
love
we
it.
would meet probably once a week in her office, and we were just talking vents about stuff because, like I said, a lot of us are acting up. So she would get to the core of the issue. Why are you acting
Yes.
up? Because some people just label you as bad, but they don't know that you have an issue of why you're
Yes.
doing what you're doing. So a lot of us by the time June came for graduation, where our grades were skyrocketing, our behavior was plateauing because we're behaving class.
Yes.
So and it's amazing what she did, how many lives she touched. And I believe it touched so many lives because we didn't want to disappoint her. When you have someone invested in you, you don't want to really let
Yes.
them down. And I know she stuck up for me and so many other students. The rest at 271 was different because the junior high school I was at, they'll put you out the class.
Yes.
You would have to wait outside the classroom until the class is over or go to the lunchroom or something. Like they would legit put you out the class. So she would stand up and like kind of in the gap, like I got intercessor, and say, "Hey, all right, just don't forget who we used to be, and let's work
That's
on what he's
right.
trying to be now." And I just thank God for her because, like I said before, my grades were good, but my behavior was terrible. I had to say what I wanted to
Yeah.
say. You know, it is what it is. But but I thank
Yes.
God for your mother. She really did a
Yes. I
lot.
love this story because it's so true. When we feel like people care about us, we're willing to work harder, right? And we're really, really willing to put in the work because somebody cared about us. And I think that makes a difference with just being in these systems. So many times I find in the school system, um, we have great teachers out there that really care about you, and students will work for those teachers. But then you have teachers who don't
hmm
care, and the students know those too. They know
Oh,
the
yeah,
teachers who
absolutely.
don't care, who just there for a
hmm
paycheck. So I love that story, not just because she's my mom and I know how she came in with the anointing oil. It was like Jesus is gonna meet me in the office. So
Oh, I'm
uh,
sure. I know he did.
yes, totally. I love that. But I want to talk about you going from boyhood to manhood because I think that's a transition that some people just never get to. Let's just be honest, right? Some people get
Absolutely.
stuck in boyhood. And a lot of people don't talk about this, but I also think that sometimes people are born like just stuck in manhood. They don't know how to touch that little boy inside of them, right? Or reach that little boy inside of them. So I want to discuss that. Like, what were some of the things that you recognize? Wow, now I'm a man.
Um, just how I transition. I don't. I used to take things very personal. I couldn't take critique. I couldn't take if someone said, you did this wrong or you can do this better. I always took that as a personal dig or attack. As I got
Hmm.
older, I started learning. Some people, yeah, it is personal. Some people, they're just being finicky and just trying to get on the decision. But then there are some people that actually do want to see you at your peak. Some people do actually want to see you
Yes.
better. So that's one thing. I had to learn how to accept criticism. I had to learn how to accept, the good with the bad. You're not going to do
Yes.
everything
Yes.
100% good. Even if you do something good, there's always room to make it better. And that's even something
Yes.
I teach even my children. You know, B is nice, but A plus is
Yes.
the goal. Let's celebrate that B. We're thankful for the B, but that A, you always want to hit that mark every time. So that was one
Yeah.
one of my marks right there. Just learning how to accept criticism and not taking it personal.
Yeah. That's good. Accepting criticism. I love that because I think that is a sign of maturity. And I think something else you talked about, I want you to go deeper into is also just knowing when to speak and how to speak. Like, how was that like in a mature
Yes.
level?
Well, growing up where I grew up, I grew up in Best Star. I grew up where if you don't, and not even where I grew up in the Best Star, but in my household, where if you don't speak up, you just don't get what you want.
Right.
I'm a second of two kids, so the baby, she got stuff because she was a baby. The oldest got stuff because he's the oldest. But when you're a middle child, and I understand the middle child syndrome. I don't know if that's real, but a lot of people have that middle child syndrome where they feel like they have to fight a little bit harder. Um,
Yes.
I realized, I didn't always have to say things the way I said it, but because of the way I
Mm.
grew up, I always felt like I had to fight everything. I had
Hmm.
everything I wanted. I had to fight for it. And some things isn't a fight. Some things, if you say it gracefully, you can get it. Explain yourself.
Yes.
Okay, this is what I need. You know, and someone be humane enough to have a heart to say, okay, I see what you're saying. But when you just
Hmm.
blurt things out, and that's what I used to do. Especially when I was angry, because my anger went from 0 to 10. There was no numbers in between. It
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
0 to 10.
Yeah.
Watch out because he's gonna go off. So
Hmm.
that was me. I had to learn how to express myself and learn how to express myself when how to express myself. You know, I had the habit of like most men expressing myself only when I was angry. You know, I had to learn. Okay, this is a good moment here to express myself.
Hmm.
You know, and sometimes people will ask you how you feel, what you think, and we miss the opportunity. We say, yeah, it's okay, but no, something you got to take the opportunity. Someone's asking you
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
feel and
That's good.
what you think to go for it.
Yeah. I think it's a thin
So
line. I love
that
what
that
you're
was my
saying
major thing:
because
learning how to communicate.
yeah, I love that. It is learning how to communicate. It's so important. And we think we're born communicating, but that's not true, right? There are different levels to communication. I love what you said because I was the only child. So I never had a problem communicating. And matter of fact, there were times when I over communicated probably. Um, and I had to learn that there are moments to communication, right? There are temperaments to communication. There's wisdom to
Yes.
communication, right? There's things that you should not say at a certain period, and there's other things that you should say. So I had to learn that, and that's a powerful lesson. So I love that. So I often talk about we often hear about like part of maturity as a woman is her like getting older, having children, and getting married. And I don't think that age equals maturity, and I don't think marriage equals maturity, and I don't think having kids equal maturity. I think maturity is an inner decision that you're going to make to mature from one level to another level, or a
Yes.
growth process, right? Um, but I will say that I
Hmm.
think that so many times women see marriage as maturity, and men kind of see it as a woman's thing. Like marriage is for women. And the way I look at it, I'm like, no, marriage should be for men too, because it's so advent
Absolutely.
it's so many advantages to being married as a man, right? That you can get if you're really connected with your God partner. And so I know that you have a wonderful wife. So I want to talk about how has marriage matured you or changed you as a man?
Well, one thing off the top of my head is I have like a built-in best friend right there. So
Yes.
so even with that, some people you might have met in the past, some best friends or friends, they might have a motive. But when you have a wife or or husband, they genuinely want the best for you. So
Yes.
and this is not something I have learned this over years, that I can trust my wife. I can trust my wife. I can trust her with my feelings. I
Mm,
can trust her with my thoughts, and even even if she didn't know how or what I wanted, I can confide and say, "What do you think about this?"
mm-hmm.
I've done a few projects. I've done a few projects, but I know if I give it to my wife and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" She's gonna give me something I didn't see. So it's like having a
Yes.
second pair of
Good.
eyes. It's it's like having wow, it's like having a resource and not using it. And I mean using it
Mm,
for like detrimental. But if you listen, I don't believe. Okay, let's talk realistically. So
hmm.
we only have one president at one time at a time. So let's use Barack. Okay, so
Right.
I don't believe Barack Obama made decisions by himself. I
Mm.
I genuinely
Neither.
believe.
Neither.
I think at night he laid in bed and talked to Michelle and said, "Okay, babe, what you think?" I don't think any successful person get
Mm-hmm.
there by themselves, especially if they're
Mm.
married. Because I believe even if that's not my expertise in my area, they know enough that they can give me enlightenment.
Right.
Why? Because I'm interested in it. So if I'm interested in it, you're interested in it because you want to know what I'm interested in. You want to know what I'm doing. What got
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
So I do. For example, I do music. I'm not a singer or nothing like that, but I'm an engineer. I
Right.
work in the studio. So initially, I couldn't do the technical stuff with music.
Mm-hmm.
My wife didn't know how to handle business.
Mm.
So I was letting people come in and have their sessions and walk out without getting paid. you know,
Right.
but when I start saying, "Okay, babe, I need you to help me with this," you know, business picked up a whole lot better because now I'm not taking a loss. You know,
Right.
so
Yes.
I learned how to trust the expertise, to trust the wisdom of my spouse. You know, I don't know
Oh, I
everything,
love that. And I
and I
just
had
want
to
to jump in
get
there
out of that.
and say one. I just
Mhm.
want to jump in there because that was so powerful. Some of the things you said. First of all, you have to have the right spouse, right? Because the right spouse, you will be able to trust, number one, right? You'll be able to respect them when it comes to having their point of view. You know
Mhm.
what they say because you know that they love you and then you know that they're there for you, which I think makes a difference in just marrying the wrong person, right? And then somebody who's there for whatever. So I think that's important what you just said. That's wonderful what you just said about um really marrying the right person, the person that's there for you and it's going to help you on your assignment, your life
Absolutely.
assignment. Having a built-in best friend, that's so powerful, right? Having that foundation for friendship and love is so important.
Yeah. We had this joke in my house. Well, between me and her, I said sometimes I hate her, but I love her more than I hate her.
Right, right,
You're
right.
listening for a long time. I know you'll probably understand that. Sometimes we have our
Yes.
moments, but
Yes.
it always comes right back to each other. I don't listen. We might not like each other, but I love you.
Right, right. Yes.
You might not be feeling me at the moment, but I love you regardless. So we just had that brutal honesty with each other, and that's how I get used to because she was always more honest than I was. I'll sugarcoat stuff, and she'll just be like, "1, 2, 3," and I'm like, "Really? Well, you're just not gonna warm up to it?"
Right, right. Right. So you had to learn how to communicate too with each other, and that's important. Communication
Yes,
style.
absolutely.
Yes. That's wonderful. I love that. Yeah, I want to say I'm an advocate for more men wanting to get married because of the advantage of marriage, right? It's not just a thing for women and that's baloney, right? That just marriage is really supposed to be for women. I think we're taught as women to want marriage. So it seems like that. And men are taught to like be free until you can find the perfect woman for you, which I think is wrong. I think men should also be taught to want a good woman that's going to help you
Absolutely.
fulfill your life assignment. Nothing like that. You see a
Absolutely.
Barack Obama, you can't see Barack without seeing Michelle, and I do believe that every successful man has a good
Absolutely.
woman behind him. I just believe that, right? I just think that's so powerful. Not saying that you can't do it for you as a single by yourself. That's not what I'm saying. But I do
Hmm.
believe in the institution of marriage and that when you find a great partner, it could be a great fellowship, partnership, and just a union, So I love the fact that you and your wife have something that's wonderful. I want to shift gears a little bit to ministry, right? God has
Okay.
really raised you in different, ministerial offices and calling. Um, how did you recognize your calling? What was some of the things that made you recognize this is my calling and this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, especially when it comes to God? Because sometimes people have a hard time hearing the voice of God and where they belong in the church and in the world, for their whole life.
All I knew is I had a passion for it. I think
Mm-hmm.
if you're gonna do anything, you should be passionate about. So passion should lead you to what your purpose is. I honestly believe that. I don't think you
Yeah.
should take a job because it makes you money. I think you should do something that you like to do. That's fun for you, and
Yeah.
something that you don't mind doing for the rest of your life if you have to do it.
Yes. Yes.
Ministry, and it wasn't even ministry. It was God, honestly. I felt like when I got saved, I got to resurrection, all the joy. I felt as if I was introduced to a family of
Mm-hmm.
where other people didn't understand me. I was now with people that understood me. Something's different about. I didn't know what the differences was, but I
Yes.
knew that I knew God had a purpose for me. I just didn't know what the purpose was. Um, so for the first part of you know my experience, my Christian experience, I served. Whoever our pastor was, I was serving that person. Whether that was executively, on the books, or
Yes.
being some kind of junior trustee, whatever that was. That's what I did. So I
Mm-hmm.
was always flexible into serving in whatever capacity I was told to do. But I always felt that there was something a little more. You know, when you're good at something, people try to put you in the box. Like, okay, you do that very well. You just
Yes.
do that. Just don't even aspire to anything else. Just do this one thing. But I was like, you know what? There's more. There's so much more. So, and honestly, as I got older, I was reading my Bible a lot more. I was praying a lot more, and I began to hear God a lot more. So then I was saying to myself, well, I don't know if I'm a preacher, but I know I'm called to ministry to do something. Now, what the something is, I don't know. So, well, I
I
didn't
love
know.
that. I love that because I want to say that I think that's true. Even in the church, they try to put you in a box, right? Like, you do that great, so stay right there. But in corporate America, you don't do that. You could, even in corporate America, when they see you have a gift and a talent for something, they are willing to promote you to that next level. And I feel like that's how the church
Hmm.
should be too. Many people are multi-gifted and multi-talented. So
Absolutely.
it's so important that we recognize in the church people's gifts and we use them. Not use the same person
Absolutely.
that you've been using for 20 years because you feel comfortable with them. Not use this person because you love their personality. Not use this person because this is your cousin, but use them because this is what the body of Christ is made of. We are all arms, legs, and feet, and we all need one another. And we all have gifts that we can share to really make the body of Christ grow. So I love
Absolutely.
that. You
You know,
do the Servant Institute too. Didn't you help run the Servant Institute? Was that you, Curtis?
yeah. So that's something I started. I believe 2017. We didn't do anything last year because of the pandemic.
Right.
But that's actually a leadership gathering that I would host. I would get a location, and I would just invite different leaders, different in the church. I wouldn't even need the leaders. I'll just tell them, send me your teams, because a lot
Yeah.
of times when you're serving, especially you go to church every week, and you got to deal
Right.
with different personalities, and and you got to deal with your own personality at that.
Right. Right.
Let's be real. Sometimes you're not in the mood to serve. Sometimes you're
Right.
not in the mood to even go to church. But when you have
Yeah.
a certain position in church,
Real.
you have to be there. So I found that a lot of people were tired and they were frustrated. So what I did was once a year I would have this
Mm.
conference, and I would have speakers come in to encourage and kind of rejuvenate them, so they could come back on
Yeah.
fire. Because if you never have a break to vent and ask questions and just have some fun,
Yeah.
or even have the fellowship with the people you see every week, you could burn out.
Yeah.
And then
It's so true.
the person that would say, "Hey, can I have that program?" You know, that could be the wrong person at the wrong moment. I don't give you the program, but it
Right.
wasn't the person. It was because that person was frustrated. The person
Yes.
probably should have took a break. So
Yeah.
that's what the conference is. It's just giving people training and enlightenment, and just a rejuvenation, a break. You know,
I
it's
love
been pretty
that. I love
successful.
that. I love that. I'm always scared of leaders who want to just get out there and lead, but have no servant's heart. I'm always scared of that because a true leader has served in some time or another, right? How can you be a true leader if you've never served anyone or did anything for anybody but yourself, right? So I love the fact that you have a servant's heart and you have that institute that you started. And I love that. I want to talk about the state of the church today. I've been kind of asking people since, maybe the end of last year, because of the pandemic, the state of the church has kind of changed, right? Where do you see the state of the church today, and where do you see it moving in the future?
In all honesty, I see it expanding, just expanding. It's going to get bigger, and thank God it's going to get bigger. I believe this pandemic has blessed the church because we had to find ways to get ourselves more, not publicity, but get ourselves in front of cameras. Where a lot of times you didn't want to. Some churches were afraid that they didn't want to go Facebook Live, they didn't want to go on Twitch or YouTube. But now, because we're forced to go into your homes, now you
Yeah.
have to do that. Now you have to broadcast. Now you have to share the broadcast. I think that's a great thing because what if I can't find a church compatible for what I want in New York City, but I found somewhere in Chicago that you're there with my spirit. Now now as a church we're attracting people that we normally wouldn't be able to reach. And
That's good.
we have places, we have things like that are like e-churches,
Yeah.
the hubs that where you don't necessarily need to be in a state. You can actually, thanks to technology, you can stream the service from your phone or device and put it on your TV and feel like you're in a sanctuary. Giving is
I
remote,
love it.
everything.
I agree. Now
So thanks to
I
technology,
love
we've
going
grown.
into the body and being a part of a fellowship. Like I love being in church. There's something about it. But yes, I do agree that I do love the outreach that the pandemic has caused the church to have to do, right? Like no more time out. Like it's the outreach has been crazy, right? Because of the pandemic. People will have to step outside of the box and do things that they normally, wouldn't have to do, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, I love that. Now you've written some books. Talk about the books that you've written and why you decided to write them.
Well, in all honesty, I did not see that coming. To be so honest, I did not see that coming. Writing books, I don't know where that came from. So I am a prophet. I'm an ordained prophet, Royal Joy Ministries, with your aunt, Apostle Wiley.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to sound shady. I'm really not. But even in church, I see a whole bunch of no's, a whole bunch of do's and don'ts. So my first book, which is on the prophetic, I started writing notes because I saw a whole lot of stuff that should not be happening. And I started writing that. And then I started looking at the books I owned, some of the books I purchased. And I was like, some of these books are just too deep. Like if I was Catholic and I picked up a book on the prophetic, I would not know what in the world is going on.
Right.
So my first book, Foundations of the Prophetic, I wrote it intentionally for the non-believer and the person that's probably just coming to church. I have no idea what the prophetic is.
Right.
So I wrote that. I wrote that in the beginning of the pandemic, 2020. I wrote that. I wasn't gonna release it because I felt like it was kind of thin. I don't know, it's like 64 books, 64 pages, something like that. So I still put it out, and it's done well.
Yes.
I started to do marketing, all that kind of stuff, but I really haven't needed to do it because, honestly, when I look at my sales dashboard, whatever, I'm seeing that it's going. People are buying it. So it's been a blessing. I know some people in California.
Because it's simple. It's a simple guide.
Tennessee. I've had people write me. I mean, it's a simple guy. I have no idea. I mean, it's been a blessing to so many. I didn't see that coming. But I'm glad I wrote it because it gave a lot of people some insight. In the second book, Elijah's Heir. This is my second. This book. Because you're a writer too. The first book is usually like the I don't know what to call it, prototype. It's always like the sample. I had a lot of mistakes in the first book. So
yeah.
I think the second book is a lot better written. It's called Elijah's Ear. It's about spiritual
Mm.
parenting and mentorship.
Wow.
So I couldn't think of if it's actually a book on that topic at all. So I decided to write one.
That's
Because
good.
I've been
No,
spiritual
I think
parented
that
and I've been
spiritual
mentored.
parenting and mentorship is so important. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
We are the products of good spiritual parents. But I will say that since I've been out here and in different ministries, people do it so many different ways. You know what I'm saying? So what are some of the key things that
So many
you
different ways.
notice? Yeah, about spiritual mentorships. Like I don't want to be the naysayer, but no, this is not the way you parent, spiritually parent. This is not the way you spiritually mentor, or this is the way you do
For me, the key thing is trying to make the person a copy of you.
it.
Like that's a no-no. I'm a totally different person. You cannot make me think and act like you.
Yes, yes,
That's not the purpose of the relationship. The purpose is to make me be the best version of myself.
that's
To
good. That's
cultivate my
good.
gifts, to get me to where I need to be. And there might be personalities, things in there that might buck up between the mentor and the mentee, but
Yes,
it's not for the person to say you don't do that. Do this how I do it. No, your parents, and because you're a parent, you get it. I can say one thing, but because I have two kids, they probably hear it two different ways.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you have to handle people. You have to handle relationships specifically. You have to handle people properly. And a lot of times
That is
people, they
so
don't handle
good.
people properly.
Ooh,
They're
I love
abusing
it,
people.
Curtis. Woo.
As your mentee, I'm not going to do certain things for you. That's not my job.
Right,
No, it's not.
right, right. And I'm not going to tear you apart either. I'm not going to tear you
No,
apart as somebody. I see that a lot. A lot of spiritual parents trying to tear them apart. It's not the way to go. And if you become better than me, because as a real parent, if excuse me, if my children supersede me, I'm okay with that. I'm not jealous.
absolutely,
And so I think as
absolutely.
spiritual parents, you have to do that too. It shouldn't be jealousy in the body of Christ, right? And if you do something I don't like, guess what? I'm your spiritual
And
parent. I still
and
love
and,
you.
and there's a difference. There's a difference between spiritual parenting and mentoring.
Yes.
Mentoring is more so task specific. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
mentoring a gift. I'm mentoring something
That's
that you
good.
do well or that you want to do better. Spiritual parenting,
Good.
I'm mentoring you into more so a purpose. I'm pushing you
Mm,
into where God wants you to go. So I'm gonna work on you
good.
totally, and prepare you for that.
Right. Right.
So it's a difference, and I think a lot of people are confused of what the difference is, and what and and even and it's so many different things on both ends. Because even as a mentee, I can expect things from my mentor that they're not willing to give or they can't give me.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
know,
I love that.
the relationship is so close to a real parent, the spiritual parent, that if you have bad parenting, natural parenting, or poor natural parenting, they will expect the same thing from the spiritual parenting, the spiritual
Yes.
parent. For example, if my spiritual parent does not make my graduation, that doesn't break my heart. It's not their job to do that.
That's
That's most of
good.
a natural parent I expect for. So this expectations should be fair on both ends.
Yes.
And it should be
Yes.
stated. What should I expect? That's
That's
a fair
good.
conversation to
That's
have.
good. That's good. Yes, I think so. Whenever you do goals, even in corporate America, right, it should be this is what I want to accomplish. This is what I want to accomplish that, right? And I see that as like a
Mm-hmm.
mentorship relationship. This is what I want to accomplish for a certain amount of time. These are the goals I want to accomplish. And spiritual parents is more longevity of the person's purpose, right?
Yes.
Their calling. I love that. That's so deep. That I love that. I can't wait to get that Elijah's ear. I
Oh
like that.
no! Listen, that's my book. That's
Yes.
my. I think I still read. That's not be funny like you read your own book, but I
Yeah, yeah.
genuinely read my own book
No, and
because it's
that's good. I love
relationships.
it.
You have to know. You have to know what's to expect. So I think it's an asset for a lot of people. I think any believer could read that book. Even people in corporate could probably read that book and understand.
Yeah, yeah. Question. Okay, so I want you to talk about some of your spiritual mentors and why they were so important in your life. And spiritual mentors
Okay.
and or parents.
Okay. Um. First, of course, is We got mommy, Auntie Peggy.
Yes, yes.
Um, she covered. I never seen her pray for me, but I know she did. I know she did.
Yes.
It was always like, I probably on my way acting up, and she's just like right there, like the Holy Ghost said, go get him before he before he was something stupid. So the intercession of your mother, I know, that was key for me.
Yeah.
And also she worked with my first pastor, Bishop Wiley. She worked, so that
Mm-hmm.
he was a very big figure in my life. He taught
Yes,
me so.
yes.
First of all, the fact that he was like a preacher blew my mind because he was always so cool. He was young,
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
cool,
yeah. He is cool.
and I'm like, wow, like I could do the church thing if God's like if God like him is a pastor. I'm like,
Yes.
I could do church because it didn't seem unreachable.
That's
He
good.
made the faith seem very reachable.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned what prayer was and fasting through him.
Mm-hmm.
Fasted once a month. It was a lifestyle that became our
Mm.
foundation. Even
Yes.
getting dressing. The man could dress. Listen,
Yes, he
we
can
know
dress.
this. The
Yes.
man could dress. So coming into ministry, you know, I wasn't groomed for church. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I would kind of emulate what he was doing. So
Mm-hmm.
if he wore suits, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to emulate this. I would try to
Yeah,
be a carbon
yeah.
copy, but I would emulate. So he was my first spiritual parent. Um, from there, I don't have many. My brother-in-law, who later became my pastor, Bishop
Mm-hmm.
Shaw, Jonathan Shaw.
Yes.
Um,
Shout
so
out.
I trans
Shout out
I
to
transitioned to
Bishop
him
Shaw.
in a time. It was a time where I needed to be in his ministry
Yeah.
to see his ethic, his work ethic, and love for God.
Mm-hmm.
Because I promise you, I don't think anyone study as much as he does.
Wow. That's a testament.
Libraries everywhere he's at, home and office.
Mm-hmm.
Legit libraries. He's like, I call him a walking encyclopedia because it was an answer for everything. He knew it just
Yes.
about a little bit of everything, and that's come from reading, study. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he's definitely one. And my current mentor, Apostle Stanley Durrell, he contacted me
Mm-hmm.
on it as well. And of course, my pastor, Apostle Patricia Wiley. If
Yes.
it, if I did not, I'm trying to say this the right way. If I did not come to her ministry, I don't know where I'd be, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people knew me as serving and doing concerts and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
having seminars. But she was the first person to put my mic in my hand and say, "Preach."
Mm.
You go
She is she is
preach.
amazing
Okay,
at
so when you preach,
really.
you prophesy too.
Oh my God. You know what? Let me just give her a shout out because I will say this. I've been to a lot of ministries, but you're talking about somebody who is
Hmm.
unintimidated by the people in her church, who wants to pull the best that she can out of them, the
Hmm.
gifts that she can out of them, who wants you to go far and use your
Absolutely.
gift to the calling of God. That woman of God, my Aunt Pat, Apostle Patricia Wiley, just using me, I would say the same thing. She was my first spiritual mother. She pulled everything out of me. Like, Chalet, you gonna be the
Absolutely.
best.
And it's scary. It's so scary.
Yes, because you don't find people are, even people in the church are so intimidated, or they don't want to put you out there. When you put somebody out there, they're not going to be perfect. You know what I'm
No,
saying? But if you work with them,
no.
because she was a teacher too, it really helped because she knows how to invest in you, how to work with you, how to teach you, and how to make you feel good no matter what step you were at. Even if you did something bad, she'd be like, you know what? You could have did this better, but you were really good. She would encourage you to the
She
no
would. She
limit. And
really
I'm
would.
telling you, it's
She really
rare.
would.
It's a rare gift.
Because a lot of people are not going to put you up on a Sunday morning if you're not like pulpit ready. If you're not like
Yes.
Sunday morning ready,
Yes.
because they have like platform services. They might give you like a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday,
Yes.
when a lot of people are not there. But she will put you up on a Sunday morning. I'm like, okay, go ahead. And
I
Sunday
love
morning
it.
is scary. It's a different
Mm-hmm.
ball game because this is a lot more people. It's
Yeah.
probably going to be broadcasted, and and like you said, she's always gonna give you feedback.
Always.
Always. The thing is, of course, you got to use that feedback.
That's right.
And I'll always use that feedback. I'll always ask her, like, what you thought. Like, I'm not, because I would never come in thinking I know it all, that I'm all that.
That's right.
There's always room for growth. So, thank God for her, because she was the first person. And I had several pastors before her that would,
Right.
and she would say, preach, prophesy. You're going to teach Bible study today. I'm not going to be there either. What do you mean you're not going to be there? I need someone to make me feel safe.
Right.
And she would say, you go teach Bible study, I'm going to be home.
Yes.
Really? So the trust of the minister
it.
in me, that thing, I'll say this, it brought up a whole nother level of loyalty in me. Because if you invest that much in me, I got to give you something back.
That's right. I love it. Oh man, that's so deep. Oh yes, I agree. And I think that we need more of that. People really pushing people out there who are gifted and talented and who really have the eager and desire to be learned and used by Christ, right? Like,
yes,
it's nothing like that. It's nothing like that. So I love that story. And I love the fact that you've had a mix of men and women who have been like spiritual mentors and spiritual parents, because I think that's so important. As myself, I've had a lot of spiritual parents have been women, of course, right? But I've had spiritual parents who've been, like maybe one or two men. So I think that in itself is powerful, because you learn different things from different people, right?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I have a mentor, Evangelist Keisha, that I go see once a month. And I'm telling you, it is like, has changed my life. So when you talk about spiritual mentorship, I'm like sitting over here screaming, yes, it works. Okay. I go once a month. I don't miss. I've been going for 2 years. It's like counseling to me. Okay. Oh. Yeah. I go, you know what? I just like I invest in anything else, I invest in that in my life. And it's made the difference, because if you get a good spiritual mentor, not only will they hear from God for your life, right? But I feel like I always have somebody that's holding up my wings spiritually. It's one thing to have a career mentor, a mentor in different areas, but it's nothing like having a spiritual mentor.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah,
it's a different ball game.
I love that. I know we've talked about like the pandemic and how that's had an effect on the church, and how the church has had to change and really adapt to the times. I wanted you to talk about a time that you felt like you had an epiphany and it caused you to do a dramatic shift in your life.
In all honesty, it's like I'm talking to my wife all over and over again. But I think a lot of times, especially in church with men, we get married because not that it's a thing to do, but you get married because you're told to get married. Just abstain from
don't have fornicate, so get married. Right.
Exactly.
Don't burn. Get married so you
which
won't
I think is a horrible idea, because it creates divorce later.
Yes.
So I think it took me some years to realize what I like, what the jewel that I have, because I kind of went in like, okay, I'm doing this. Of course, I loved her. Of course, I still do.
Right, of course.
But I think until I realized the totality of everything, this woman offers so much. And she has blessed my life in so many ways. I've developed so many ways because I had the right person. So I think that was the key pivot in my life. Really noticing, who's around me. I don't really need a whole lot of friends if I have the right friend right here in my home. So I think that was the main thing. And to be honest, it took me a while to realize exactly what
what you had at home.
We have our friends. We have our friends, and because you try to restrict some things because you're trying to, I guess, protect, or you don't want to alarm, your spouse.
Yes.
But and realistically, if you don't tell, if you don't disclose, you're only harming the person later. So that's one thing I realized that has really blessed my life. That I realized who I was married to.
Ooh,
the purpose
that's
of my
so
marriage.
deep, Curtis. I just want to that is so powerful and so deep, because I feel like if more men woke up to what they have at home, they wouldn't be searching outside of themselves for things that they have right there at home, right? And so that's so transparent too that you would say that, right? Because the church does kind of, have this way of influencing men and women to get married sometimes for the wrong reasons.
Absolutely.
Right? Don't burn. You want to have sex, get married, and it's so much more deeper than that, right?
Yeah.
And so thank God you married a woman that has so much inside of her that you were able to finally recognize who she is. And that takes time, I think, for men and for women.
Yes, absolutely does.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm grateful I figured it out, because a lot of people don't come across that epiphany.
Yeah, and that's a sad thing.
It makes me wonder,
That's a
why
sad
I
thing
get
when you
married?
got when you got a
I never want to be
98% right
married.
here. It's the sad thing when you got 98%
Yeah,
right
if you're gonna get
beside
married
you.
and you don't like spouse,
Yeah.
I'm not leaving for the 2%. I'm not doing it.
No.
I'm just
And
you're not losing me. Mm-mm.
no, I love it. I love it. Yes. You got 98%, you're looking for 2% out there. That's so crazy. Some of us are always searching no matter what they have at home. So I'm so glad you know what you have and it's made the difference in your life. And I think will make the difference in anybody's life who has somebody who's their life partner. So I think that's amazing testimony, amazing epiphany too, especially for a man, right? To admit to that, right? Because
Yeah.
that's a transparent thing. I love that. I love that whole boys and manhood thing. You just share right there. That's so
I just think you
transparent.
should appreciate who's in your life in general. They're there because you want them there. So
Yeah,
if you're not going to appreciate them, why are they there?
Yeah. So true.
You have to appreciate
People get comfortable. People get comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and they forget, And so a lot of times you see that even in the church, people get comfortable with people and they take them for granted.
This is true. I pray that never happened with me.
Yes. You guys have two
I know
beautiful
that.
children together too. So you're two beautiful children together.
Yes.
Yes, smart.
Samuel and Adriana.
Yes, smart, intelligent, beautiful kids. Can you believe it? We're old now, having kids who's getting old.
I mean, kids. Oh my
Yes.
God. I never thought I would have kids, to be honest. I was like,
Really?
mm-mm. Let me tell you something. My family were shocked that I even got engaged, because I was such an introvert. So me actually speaking to people and actually getting a relationship where I want to get married, they were like, really?
So what made you come out your shell?
I never really aspired to. I think, in all honesty, I think it's the people I was with. I was an introvert, but I hung out around a lot of introverts. So you got your Wesley Wiley, you got your Trevor Powell, you got your Christopher Lawrence, you got your Jonathan Shaw. All these are big personalities. You got your Rand Kellys. So those are, and listen, it's either eat or be eaten.
Yes.
with those characters. So you can't afford to be an introvert. No, you want to learn to speak up and speak quickly.
Yes,
so
speak quickly.
Listen, I had to learn how to answer people like that, because I might only get 10 seconds to respond, if that much. So with those personalities, you listen, introvert, you might never get an opportunity to speak.
Yes.
So you better learn how to change and develop and kind of be like a chameleon. Now listen, when I'm home, I'm an introvert. I'm into my kids and whatever's happening in my house.
Yes.
But in those certain settings, I'm going to be the biggest networker. I'm going to be the last one in the room. I'm going to make sure I'm here.
That's good.
I just know how to turn that thing on and off.
Yes, that's a great thing. I love that. No, that's so true. Sometimes, my daughter's an introvert, and I'm like, listen, speak up for yourself. No, go back, say this. I'm the extroverted one, but that's true. If you don't speak up, you just eat or be eaten, right? That's true. So I love that story of how you use it to your advantage, right? It's not changing who you are, but you use it when it's necessary. I always say there's a time when somebody who's silent must scream, and there's a time when the person who's always screaming should be silent, right? There's a time for everything. So I love that. I love that so much. That's so deep. Where do you see God taking you in the next maybe 5 years? What do you see yourself doing? getting into? What's the next steps for you?
Um, that is scary to be honest. Because there's so many things I want to do. I
Hmm.
want to travel. I want to hit the road like Uncle Wes and do ministry on the because I'm doing like I do it locally, but I see myself getting on planes and doing
Yeah,
seminars and not more so hosting them but being invited to them. So
right.
that's where I see myself in the next 5 years or so. So that of course that requires you got to put yourself out there. You got to market yourself.
Hmm.
You got to have the right image. All that stuff. So that's where I'm seeing myself in the next 3 to 5 years. Just
That's
more so putting
good.
myself out there. Home is nice, New York is nice, but I really feel like God's called me. Beyond New York, and not that
Yeah.
anything's wrong with New York, but one thing I know one thing I don't know if you know one thing. New York is very cliquish.
Yes,
Very
it is.
cliquish.
And,
So you have to know
that
someone that knows somebody.
actually,
Where
New York is cliquish, but not as cliquish as some places, like the DMV. The DMV is
really,
cliquish. Yes. When I got outside of New York and went to other places, you think New York is cliquish, but actually New York is more accepting and more, than any other place I've been to. It wasn't until I
no,
moved to like other places where they have really the good old boys network, the good old girls network, places with that are really cliquish that you be like, oh, New York is not that bad. you know, because somebody could like you in New York, right, and give you an opportunity,
yes,
right?
absolutely.
And they get to know you for yourselves, no matter what is going on. That may not be the case in DC or a DMV area or some other areas. Or if they hear something about you or somebody spread a rumor about you, somebody could lie on you, and if that person was influential enough,
Uh
you
huh.
could lose opportunities based off of things that may not even be true. Where in New York, they can be like, wait, let me get to know this person for myself. So New York
This is true.
City is yeah,
Well,
still
see,
it's still top
the thing with my
top
hurdle.
top top two in my book.
See, my hurdle is because for the first say 10, 15 years
Hmm.
of my life or my Christian life, I was serving. Well, a lot of my peers, they were preachers already. Not already, but they were already being groomed. I'm a late bloomer. So my thing
Yeah.
is turning the image from, okay, he's a conference host to, oh, he's a preacher. Oh, he's a prophet.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, when the
Yeah.
announcement was, I'm a prophet, it was like, really? What? Like, they didn't know. So
Hmm.
again, that's just the changing of the image. That's a lot. It's, you know, and really, some people might always choose to see me in a certain light, but
Hmm.
you know, that's more so that's gonna be their
Yeah,
loss.
that's
But
their
I'm really
problem.
trying
And
to
let
change
me
that.
say something to you. Don't worry about the delay. Like, it's not a delay. Sometimes God is building you in that servant. I never, I feel like sometimes we all feel like this. Oh, I should have been further along. Some of my peers, they got
Yeah.
out there. But guess what? God has processed me during this time. And so there's things that I needed to learn. So I'm so grateful for even the delays that I felt in my mind should have been, I should be here at this time, right? Now I'm looking back like, God, I'm thankful for that because I wasn't ready at that time, or I didn't have the temperament for this at the time, or the personality. So don't ever regret any delays that you think you have, or oh God, my friends was doing this before. Because you know what, your maturity level and the way God processed you, nobody can take that away from you. And service,
I
God
need to
honors
remember
your
that. In all
service.
honesty,
Yeah, God honors your service too. So that's a blessing.
it is. I mean, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the next 4 or 5 years. We'll
Yes.
see if I'm still here in New York. I don't know. This New York is so expensive.
Yeah. Oh my
It's
gosh, New
so
York
expensive.
is expensive.
So unless God gonna give me more money or something, we got to work something out.
Yes, I understand. I understand. But I want to thank you today, Curtis, for being a part of this show. I want to thank you for the grace on your life. Where can we purchase your books?
My books are everywhere you can buy a book. So let's say you want an electronic copy, you can get on Kindle, you can get it on iBook, Apple Books, ChristianBook.com,
Hmm.
Amazon, Target,
Everywhere.
Walmart. Like it's everywhere. The easiest thing I can do is tell you, Google my name. It's Curtis Whiteman, Curtis Whiteman,
Yes.
and both the books are available. Again, they're on paperback or the ebook. I
Yes.
have, you know, it's been a blessing to me. I hope many more will be blessed by it in the years to come. Um, but it's available. It's out right now. Now, I would say probably the best place would be Amazon, probably. Other websites, I don't know if you have seen this, but other websites, kind of inflate your book.
Yeah, they
Once they
do.
realize
They
your
do.
book is
Yeah.
selling, they inflate the book. So I'd
Hmm.
rather people get the original price of 19, which is 19.99. I saw some
Right.
websites for $24, $25.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you sell some money, probably go to Amazon and get it for
Yes.
the actual
Totally. And it's
price.
easier to use. You get it in 2 days. Who wouldn't like that if you're prom, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
I love
two
it.
days.
I love
Thank
it.
you
I love
so
the
much for
fact
this
that you've
opportunity.
become an author. You're working towards your ministry, and I love the fact that you have served for so long, and God is really just bringing you to the forefront now. So I appreciate you for joining our show today, Curtis.
Thank
And
you.
thank you again. And we can't wait to see what God has in store for you. I can't wait for the many books that you have to come out. And I love that. And I just want to thank you for everybody for tuning in with me, even through the technical difficulties today. We have two more great interviews coming up. One from my
I'll be
sister,
watching.
Christy, who is a counselor, and the other one from my brother that we kind of mentioned today, Chris Lawrence. I know he has some
Yes.
exciting stories, things he's going to talk about. So stay tuned. Stay blessed, everybody.